As the light dipped lower, casting a golden hue over the worn city streets, the noise of hurried footsteps began to fade, replaced by the distant sounds of laughter and echoes of dreams. The frail woman, whose own dreams had long been swallowed by the dark tides of hardship, knelt beside the little boy. She noticed how his chin rested on his knees, eyes wide with a mixture of hope and apprehension, as if contemplating the very things that life had seemingly denied him. In that moment, she could see her own reflection in him, his innocence mirroring the child she once was, before time stole the joy from her laughter and replaced it with the weight of responsibilities far too heavy for one heart. She reached into her meager satchel, the last remnants of her monthly savings, and found just enough to offer some comfort. With trembling hands, she pulled out a leather coin purse, the leather frayed and creased, and counted the few coins that sparkled dimly in the fading light. "Here," she said gently, extending the coins toward him. "This will help. You can buy something to eat." The boy looked at her, his eyes widening with disbelief, then darted toward the coins as if they were made of gold. But before he could reach out, he hesitated, remembering how many times he had chased after fleeting hopes only to find them slipping away like grains of sand through his small fingers. "Why?" he asked, voice barely a whisper, carrying the weight of skepticism born from the streets. She paused, her heart clenching, the question ringing louder than the busiest marketplace. "Because," she said softly, "we all deserve kindness, even when it feels like the world has forgotten us. You deserve a chance, just like everyone else." A flicker of something, hope, curiosity, crossed his miniature features. "But why would you give your money to me? Don't you need it?" His eyes were now searching hers, trying to decipher the truth behind her compassion. "I have learned that being poor does not only mean lacking money, it also means lacking kindness, love, and compassion," she replied, her voice steady despite the pang of her circumstances. "Sometimes, the most valuable thing we can give each other is hope." Tentatively, he reached out and grasped the coins, his fingers brushing against hers, a fleeting connection that transcended their dire surroundings. As he clutched the coins close to his chest, a small smile broke through the grime on his face, illuminating the shadows that had nestled there for far too long. "Thank you," he said softly, almost forgetting the bitterness that had seemed his only companion in the past. Without another word, he darted off into the night, a small figure filled with renewed determination and a promise to himself to make something of the life he wished to hold on to. The woman stood, watching him disappear into the streets, a warmth blossoming within her heart. Each act of kindness resonated, echoing with the possibility of change, not just for him but also for her, a poor widow with nothing but love to offer. As the warm sunlight filtered through the dusty window, casting soft patterns on the floor, she took a deep breath, trying to steady her spiraling thoughts. The weight of loss was relentless, like a dark cloud that had settled in the corner of her mind. Yet here beside her sat young Daniel, a flicker of innocence and light. His small face was earnest, eyes wide with the hope only a child could embody. Each word that came from his mouth, a fragile thread woven from dreams of a future he could barely grasp, felt like a balm to her deep-seated pain. "Do you think we could build a rocket one day?" he asked earnestly, his hands gesturing upwards as if he were already soaring among the stars. She found herself smiling, a rare movement of her lips that had been dormant for months. The idea was ludicrous, yet enchanting, and for just a moment, it pulled her out of the heavy mists swirling within. "Why a rocket?" she inquired, genuinely curious about a 7-year-old's vision of the world. His response came pouring out, an excited torrent of words. "So I can go to space and learn about the planets. They say Mars might have aliens, and I want to explore them." His unfiltered passion wrapped around her heart like a tender embrace, melting some of the frost that had accumulated over time. As she listened to Daniel talk about his aspirations, becoming an astronaut, receiving letters from aliens, and planting flags on distant worlds, she felt a glimmer of something she thought she had lost. It was the possibility of dreaming, of reaching beyond the suffocating weight of her own loss. Each laugh shared with Daniel seemed to chip away at the heavy stone lodged in her chest. "How about you?" He suddenly turned the conversation, still bubbling with energy. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The question hit her like a balloon deflating, filled with cracks and uncertainty. What was left of her own childhood dreams? They had been buried, perhaps discarded, in the chaos and disillusionment of adulthood. Yet the warmth of Daniel's gaze urged her to piece something back together. "I think I want to help others," she replied slowly, words materializing cautiously as if resuming a long-lost language. "Maybe I could help kids like you achieve their dreams." She envisioned community centers, tutoring sessions, and laughter echoing through halls once silent with grief. It was a simple thought, yet it wrapped around her heart tighter than a grieving shroud, rekindling a sense of purpose. His eyes sparkled, reflecting a mixture of admiration and belief. "You could be a teacher, or even a superhero." The innocence of his thoughts spilled over, reaching deep into the crevices of her sorrow, igniting a stubborn flame of hope. If a child could see her as a superhero, what potential lay in her fractured spirit? She leaned a little closer, aware that in aiding Daniel, maybe she would also reclaim fragments of herself. As this unlikely friendship blossomed, the two souls, one burdened by loss and the other bright with the promise of youth, began to stitch together a new narrative, filled with dreams and possibilities beyond the weight they both carried. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden rays that spilled through the dusty window of Daniel's small, cluttered room. Each beam danced around, illuminating forgotten dreams and ambitions that lay dormant in the corners. Ever since, their paths intertwined. The widow, whose name Daniel still barely knew, had become a steady presence in his life, a lighthouse guiding him through a stormy sea. Her typically modest gestures had now taken on a deeper meaning, especially as she started to bring homemade meals, their warmth echoing her kindness. On that particular afternoon, she approached with a steaming pot of stew, the aroma enticing enough to coax a smile from Daniel's weary lips. As he savored each bite, her eyes sparkled, with an unfathomable mixture of hope and determination. She watched him closely, scrutinizing not just the way he ate, but the way his demeanor transformed with each meal. It was as if the nourishment transcended the physical and began to seep into the very essence of his spirit. That evening, as shadows stretched across the walls, an idea sparked within her, one that seemed to leap from the depths of her heart. She envisioned not just the multitude of meals she would prepare, but also the academic doors that could open for Daniel if he were afforded the right opportunities. Education was the golden thread that wove through the tapestry of a better life, and she felt compelled to play a role in his narrative. In her modest dwelling, cluttered with remnants of a life once lived, she rifled through the drawer that contained her meager savings. It was a paltry amount, coins and a few crumpled bills, but every piece carried with it a part of her life, a snippet of her own sacrifices. Making a decision felt like stepping out onto a tightrope. The risk was palpable, yet so too was the potential reward. She would pay his school fees, yes, but not just as a gift. This was a promise she was making, not merely to Daniel, but to herself, a pledge to transform a flicker of hope into a blazing fire. With a quiet determination, she approached Daniel on a particularly brisk morning, the air tinted with the promise of rain. Her heart raced as she laid out her plan before him. When she spoke, her voice was steady, but her eyes shimmered with vulnerability. "Daniel," she began, "I want you to attend school. I can help you." The weight of her words hung in the air, thick with anticipation and unspoken fears. His wide-eyed surprise mirrored her own worries. Could he truly accept this? Daniel's mind raced, thinking of all the times he had been told he was destined for mediocrity. That ambition was for others, not young boys like him. But here was this woman, a veritable stranger, laying down a foundation for his dreams. It was sacrificial, selfless, a lifeline thrown in turbulent waters. "I believe in you," she added, her voice a soothing balm to his doubts. "This is not just about learning. It's about unlocking your potential." Those words resonated deeply, wrapping around his heart with warmth and promise. It was more than just an opportunity. It was a new narrative, one built upon the ashes of despair and the hope of rebirth. As she smiled, Daniel felt something shift within him. The weight of her sacrifice ignited a flame of determination that he never knew he possessed. As the crisp autumn air settled in, the leaves turned shades of amber and gold, mirroring the transformation happening within Daniel. Each morning, he arrived at school with a sense of purpose, a small smile curling at the corners of his lips, a stark contrast to the uncertainty he'd once harbored. The widow's encouragement echoed in the back of his mind, instilling a sense of confidence that had been elusive for far too long. He felt like a new boy, not just in the school but in the world, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. Within the classroom, Daniel thrived. His hands shot up often, eager to participate in discussions that once seemed intimidating. Math equations became puzzles for him to solve rather than fears to conquer. Reading no longer felt like a chore. Instead, he found himself immersed in stories that whisked him away to distant lands, where heroes faced adversities that mirrored his own in some ways. Each page turned under the soft glow of the classroom lights felt like a step further into a journey he had once deemed impossible. His classmates, initially wary of the new kid, who seemed caught between the shadows of his past and the light of possibilities, began to see him differently. Laughter began to bubble among them as they collaborated on group projects. They shared snacks during lunch, a simple gesture that melted away Daniel's initial reservations. It was as if a wall had crumbled around him. He no longer saw himself as the outsider, but as a valued member of a community. Each friendship he forged was built upon shared interests and mutual respect. They became a tapestry of support, woven through shared days and experiences. Yet, with these newfound joys came challenges. There were days when the weight of expectations felt heavy on his shoulders, times when the math problems seemed unsolvable, or when the reading assignments overwhelmed him with sheer volume. On those days, he would recall the widow's warm smile, remembering her words of encouragement. "You are capable of more than you think." With every struggle, he learned resilience, coming home to practice problems and revisiting the stories in the quiet comfort of his room. It was in those moments of solitude that he recognized the importance of hard work, the kind that could carve a path to a brighter future. The widow would often check in with him, her wise eyes filled with pride as she listened to him recount the victories and hurdles of the day. She reminded him that growth was neither linear nor easy, and that tackling every obstacle was a part of life's grand adventure. Each evening spent at her table, sharing meals, felt like a moment enriched with a familial bond that transcended blood ties. She had become not just a mentor, but a true confidant, illuminating the shadows of his past with the tender light of her faith in him. As winter approached, Daniel began to realize that he wasn't just learning the subjects in school, he was learning about himself. He discovered a passion for science, captivated by the wonders of the universe, and an unexpected knack for storytelling that transformed him into the storyteller of the group. These moments often led to spontaneous tales spun during lunch, each narrative revealing pieces of his vivid imagination. delighting his classmates and making laughter a familiar sound around the tables. In this cocoon of warmth and growth, Daniel started to dream again, visions woven from ambition and newfound self-belief. The journey was just beginning, each day packing new lessons, friendships, and experiences that he had once thought were fantasies. With hope nestled securely in his heart, he stepped forward, ready to embrace every moment life had to offer. Inspired by a woman whose kindness had sparked a light within him and whose belief had breathed life into his dreams. The days flowed into weeks, and the radiance of Daniel's potential began to illuminate the dull corners of his once dreary life. With every sunrise, he approached his studies with newfound vigor, devouring books as if they held the very essence of his aspirations. He often found himself resting under the sprawling oak tree in the schoolyard, surrounded by his peers, the pages of his textbooks fluttering in the gentle breeze. His laughter mingled with the rustle of leaves. Each moment encapsulated a joy he had yet to fully embrace. The widow, whose heart had begun to mend alongside Daniel's progress, took solace in the knowledge that she had sparked the embers of his ambition. The old woman would arrive at the school bearing homemade meals, her hands warmly cradling a basket filled with her culinary creations, a testament to her affection for him. Watching Daniel thrive became her own little source of happiness. His achievements were no longer just points to be proud of, but pivotal milestones in their shared journey. She often reminisced about her own youth, the dreams she had once held dear, and the uncharted paths life had led her down. One afternoon, while they sat under the oak tree after school, Daniel opened up about his growing dreams of becoming a teacher one day. He could picture himself standing in front of a class, his students looking up at him with eager eyes, much like his own had shown when he first began to understand the magic within those pages. The widow listened intently, her heart swelling with pride, astonished at how far he had come. She encouraged him, sharing anecdotes of beloved teachers from her past, weaving in the lessons she had learned about perseverance and passion. It was in those moments that their bond deepened, transcending the boundaries of their previous lives. Yet, as the tide of success washed over Daniel, the widow faced her own stormy waters. The burdens of her widowhood still hovered like dark clouds, casting a shadow over her heart. There were days when she wrestled with moments of despair, the loneliness creeping back into the corners of her mind. But now, inspired by Daniel's relentless ambition, she sought to reclaim the life she once dreamed of. It began with small steps. She revisited her old passions for gardening, cultivating new blooms in her neglected backyard. She joined community meetings, reclaiming her voice, and once again weaving herself into the fabric of a world that had temporarily forgotten her. As weeks turned into months, the transformation was palpable. With every success Daniel celebrated, the widow found solace woven into the fabric of his achievements. While she had initially taken on the role of a caretaker, she now realized that they were both caretakers of each other's dreams. In the classroom, Daniel flourished, rising above the doubts he had once harbored. And at home, the widow discovered the strength to confront her past, to pen her own narrative of resilience. Their lives became a tapestry of mutual growth, a testament to the undeniable force of companionship in the face of adversity. Each lesson learned, each challenge faced, echoed in the hearts of both, a ripple of change that would forever ripple through the lives they touched. The mornings arrived with a grayness that matched the widow's spirit. Each dawn brought with it the same ritual. She would rise before the sun, pulling on the worn slippers that had cradled her feet through the colder seasons of grief. The echo of her husband's once boisterous laughter seemed to dance just out of reach, a melody drowned out by the relentless drum of daily life. Daniel would still be asleep, tangled amidst blankets, his small frame a sanctuary of innocence and potential. She tiptoed into the kitchen, where the remnants of last night's dinner lurked, perhaps a few scraps of bread and the remainder of yesterday's soup. As she prepared simple oats for Daniel, the sharp pang of hunger gnawed at her insides. She had learned to ignore these hunger pangs, to silence them with thoughts of her son's growth. He needed nourishment, he needed stability, and she would do anything to provide it, even if it meant shortchanging herself. Once the familiar scent of cooked oats filled the air, she ventured back to Daniel's room, carrying a cheerful smile that she hoped would mask her exhaustion. He stirred awake to find her standing by his bedside, his sleepy eyes shining brightly, a mirror to her own heart. "Good morning, Mom!" he exclaimed, yawning wide and stretching like a cat. In that moment, her heart lightened. His enthusiasm was a beacon that pushed back the shadows. Over breakfast, she watched him inhale the warm oats and smile, unaware of the imminent sacrifices waiting on the horizon, a new notebook he needed for school that she could barely afford. But for now, time was theirs. They shared stories about the enchanting world woven in the pages of Daniel's books, tales of valiant knights and brave explorers that she breathed life into with her own voice. It was here that hope thrived, even amidst uncertainty. As the days wore on, the weight of her responsibilities grew heavier, and the line between necessity and desire blurred. She found herself working long hours, often taking on jobs that left her physically drained but still determined. Each evening she returned, her bones ached, and her hands were calloused and rough. Yet the sight of Daniel reading or playing filled her soul, with a warmth that softened her weary heart. At night, when the world quieted and shadows cast elongated figures on the walls, memories would sweep through the silence, uninvited yet familiar. She would sometimes catch herself reaching for their wedding photo, the laughter of their shared life echoing in her mind. It was in these moments of solitude that she felt his presence most palpably, as if he was still somehow guiding her, infusing her heart with resilience. And within this melancholy tapestry of memory and aspiration, Daniel continued to grow. His laughter punctuated their small home, filling it with a sweetness that made all her struggles worthwhile. Together, they navigated the terrain of loss and survival, shaping a new narrative filled with love that transcended absence. In this journey, each day brought with it a flicker of possibility, illuminating the path ahead and slowly, steadily, guiding them toward a brighter horizon where joy could once again take root. The summer before Daniel's first year at university felt like a fleeting whisper of innocence, a moment captured in the amber glow of warm evenings and the laughter of friends gathered under the sprawling oak tree in the widow's backyard. With the echoes of childhood still resonating in his heart, Daniel stood at the precipice of adulthood, his dreams stretching far and wide, much like the crescent horizon that framed his small hometown. The widow often joined him during these moments, her presence, a steady compass in a world that began to seem infinitely complex. It was during these twilight chats that she shared stories of her own youth, tales of struggle interspersed with triumph, which conveyed unspoken wisdom about the paths they chose. As Daniel prepared for university, he was filled with a blend of exhilaration and trepidation. Each acceptance letter received was a testament not only to his hard work, but also to the unwavering encouragement poured into him by the widow. He couldn't shake off the feeling that his success was intertwined with her sacrifices, a bond that seemed to grow even deeper as each day unfolded. He remembered the nights spent poring over textbooks, the widow seated nearby, knitting quietly, yet sharing words of encouragement that felt like light cutting through the haze of uncertainty. When the day finally arrived for him to set foot on university grounds, it was as if he was stepping into a new realm, where possibilities shimmered like heat waves in the distance. The campus buzzed with energy, brimming with faces both familiar and foreign, all equally eager to carve out their own destinies. As he walked through the ivy-laden pathways, he felt a surge of gratitude towards the widow, realizing that her guidance had been the bedrock on which he built his aspirations. He could feel her spirit with him, urging him to engage deeply with this new chapter of his life. Classes began, each lecture unfolding like a kaleidoscope of knowledge. He found himself captivated not only by the subjects he studied, but also by the diverse viewpoints and backgrounds of his peers. Discussions that once felt cowed by uncertainty now flourished into spirited debates that challenged his perspectives. Daniel flourished in this environment, the dawning realization that learning extended far beyond the confines of textbooks, filling him with an insatiable curiosity. Yet, there were moments of doubt, whispers that tugged at the corners of his mind, suggesting that he might not be enough, that the weight of expectations was a gilded cage. On those days, he would retreat to the sanctuary of his memories, all those summer evenings spent with the widow, all the encouragement poured into him like a river of hope. He learned to navigate through the chaos of self-doubt, finding strength not just within himself, but in the profound bond they shared. Daniel began to realize that greatness was not just about accolades. It was imbued with the love and support he had received and continued to nurture. As weeks turned into months, each day brought the promise of discovery and the blossoming of his identity. The widow's legacy wasn't merely woven into his accomplishments. It was now a living, breathing part of him, a reminder that tangled within the threads of hardship and hope lay the fabric of a life waiting to unfold in extraordinary ways. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the modest home that had cradled Daniel's growth, he felt a swell of bittersweet emotion. The walls echoed with memories, the laughter of friends, the quiet moments of reflection, and the nurturing presence of the widow who had taken him in. This gathering was not merely a farewell, it was a celebration of resilience, of gratitude, and of shared dreams blooming in the fertile soil of compassion. The attendees filtered into the cozy living room, each one a testament to the journey they had traveled together. Neighbors, friends, and mentors filled the space, their faces lined with stories that intertwined with Daniel's experience. He moved among them like an artist surveying his canvas, ready to paint with heartfelt words that would immortalize the impact this woman had made on his life. He stopped briefly to embrace the widow, her frail form enveloped in the warmth of his gratitude. Her gray hair framed a face that spoke of battles fought and love unconditionally given, a beautiful map of the years etched around her eyes. As the chatter softened and the attendees took their seats, Daniel stood before them, his heart racing with anticipation. He held a small, handmade card in his hands, crafted with care and love, a testament to the life lessons she had imparted. "You all know her as Mrs. Williams," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "But to me, she has been so much more. She saw a flicker of hope in a broken boy and nurtured it into a burning flame." As he spoke, each word became a bridge, connecting his past to his aspirations, illuminating the path forward. He recounted the nights spent over homework, the nurturing conversations that turned despair into determination, and the unconditional support that had propelled him toward his dreams. The room was silent, each listener captivated by his story, their hearts swelling with shared memories and newfound appreciation. Mrs. Williams' eyes glistened as she absorbed his words, the corners of her mouth twitching at the edges, attempting to hold back tears. Daniel watched her, a profound sense of responsibility washing over him. "Because of you," he continued, "I stand here today, ready to embrace the world and all its challenges. And because of you, I want to ensure that I can be that beacon of hope in someone else's life." The love in the room felt palpable, a bond formed through shared struggles and victories. Daniel imagined a community where the cycle of hope could continue, where he could reach back to those who were lost, much like he once had been. His commitment to become not just a student of knowledge, but a student of life, was cemented in that moment. He vowed to carry forward the legacy of kindness and belief, to transform his gratitude into action that would ripple through the lives of others in need. As he concluded, the room erupted in applause, not just for his words, but for the spirit of togetherness they embodied. Daniel felt the weight of the moment, knowing that this new chapter was not just his. It was a shared journey that had just begun. He realized that while he would forever cherish Mrs. Williams' guidance, he was now charged with the responsibility of passing that torch, igniting new sparks of hope in the hearts of others, just as she had done for him. Daniel stepped through the familiar creaky door of the widow's small home, the very place where many of his childhood memories intertwined with dreams. The scent of her cooking enveloped him like a warm embrace, a reminder of simple joys that had once filled his life. He could see her, bent over a pot, her hair adorned with streaks of silver, yet her back remained straight, full of resilience. As she looked up and their eyes met, a smile broke across her face, illuminating the room and his heart. "Daniel, look how you've grown." Her voice, though soft and cracked with age, brimmed with pride and warmth. It was a testament to the bond they had forged over the years. He rushed forward to envelop her in a hug, the kind she used to give him when he was lost or scared. For a moment, he was that boy again, seeking solace from life's harshness in the arms of someone who believed in him. They settled at the small dining table, its surface scarred and worn by years of meals shared and laughter exchanged. Daniel watched her with a mixture of nostalgia and admiration. She had poured her heart into him, and now he felt an insatiable urge to reciprocate, to channel all he had learned into something greater. "How have you been, ma'am?" he asked, his voice laced with genuine concern. "Oh, the days can be long," she replied, her eyes shining with mischief. "But I keep busy. There are still stories to tell, and the neighborhood children are always eager for a tale or two." Daniel nodded, his heart swelling. The widow had always possessed a magical gift for storytelling that, in its simplicity, would captivate the imagination of any child. It sparked in him the realization that even the smallest acts of kindness could shape a child's heart. Inspired, he took a deep breath. "What if I joined you and we created something together for them? A tutor program, perhaps? We can bring lessons to life through your stories and my knowledge." Her eyebrows rose in surprise, but then a slow grin spread across her face. "Yes, Daniel. Can you imagine? You could show them the world through your eyes, perhaps even teach them how to dream." The very thought ignited a fire within him. He envisioned a group of children, eager and curious, their eyes wide with the thrill of learning. He would teach them mathematics and reading, but more importantly, he would teach them that they could rise above their circumstances, just as he had. There were other children like him, wandering the streets, searching for something to hold on to, a mentor, a teacher, a friend. Decisions were made swiftly in that moment, a shared understanding dawning in the air around them. They would turn the small home into a haven for learning, a sanctuary where despair would be chased away by hope and laughter. The widow would share stories that crossed generations, while Daniel would bridge the gap between dreams and reality through knowledge. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the neighborhood. In that light, a vision began to unfurl before them, a future filled with possibility, filled with the same courage that had shaped both their lives. And in that instant, it became clear. This journey was not just Daniel's alone. Their shared journey was just beginning. The sun had barely risen when Daniel arrived at the community center, a once dilapidated building now alive with potential. The smell of fresh paint mingled with hopes and dreams, and the walls echoed laughter and chatter from the children who had arrived early in anticipation of the day ahead. Each child represented a thread in the fabric of this emerging tapestry of change, a vibrant blend of backgrounds, stories, and aspirations, all stitched together by their shared quests for education and opportunity. With the widow's unwavering support, Daniel had transformed this community center into a sanctuary of learning. Rows of desks filled the spacious room, each one waiting for a set of eager hands to write, to draw, and to dream. A library nook brimming with colorful books lined the back wall, a stark contrast to the vacant shelves that had once symbolized lost dreams and missed opportunities. Here, every book represented a doorway, an invitation to explore worlds beyond the constraints of their circumstances. As Daniel walked through the bustling room, he couldn't help but remember his own childhood. The struggles, the fleeting moments of despair, and the glimmers of hope that had shaped him. Those memories propelled him forward, fueling his motivation. He had once been a child yearning for guidance, and now he stood as a guardian of dreams, committed to turning those yearnings into realities. The laughter of children broke through his thoughts, drawing his attention to a small group gathered around a math game. Their faces lit up with determination, fingers tapping on the table as they competed to solve puzzles together. In their playful banter lay the seeds of collaboration, the understanding that knowledge was not just a personal achievement, but a shared journey. He noted the way they encouraged one another, a microcosm of the support he aimed to cultivate within the community. After ensuring everything was in order, Daniel called the children together for their morning assembly. He stood at the front, clearing his throat as the chatter settled. "Good morning, everyone," he beamed, his heart swelling at the sight of their eager faces. "Today is another day to learn, to grow, and to dream big. Remember, every time we learn something new, we empower ourselves and one another." As he spoke, a young girl named Lila caught his eye. Her journey, much like his own, had begun in hardship, the daughter of a single mother working multiple jobs to make ends meet. But here, in this space that Daniel had helped to create, Lila was finding her voice, and her confidence was blooming. She was shy but determined to speak up in class, and it brought a warm smile to Daniel's face each time she raised her hand. Later, as the morning unfolded into lessons and laughter, Daniel's heart swelled with purpose. He watched as children engaged with their tutors, exuberance written across their faces. Each moment solidified his belief that they were weaving a new narrative, one where the cycle of giving transformed lives. It was not simply about education for them, it was about possibilities unfolding, futures being rewritten. In the quiet moments between classes, he reflected on the true essence of this endeavor. It was not just about teaching academic subjects, it was about teaching resilience, empathy, and the importance of lifting one another. He understood, deep within him, that this was not merely an act of charity, it was the restoration of hope. And with every impromptu dance party in the classroom, every group project completed together, the rhythm of kindness echoed louder, and the ripples of change expanded beyond the confines of those walls, reaching into every corner of the community. Daniel felt, more than ever, that he was where he was meant to be, rooted in purpose. As the bell rang, signaling the end of the morning, the children rushed out. Daniel stayed behind just a moment longer, savoring the laughter that filled the air, the heartbeat of a new legacy that was beginning to take form. The charity continued to flourish, a blossoming entity that reflected the love and dedication of its founders. As each day unfurled, the echo of laughter and learning filled the hallways, warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the silence that had once enveloped the lives of so many children. Each smile was a testament to the resilience born of support and care, and each transformed life further solidified the mission at the heart of Daniel and the widow's venture. One particularly poignant story emerged from the nurturing atmosphere crafted within their walls, that of young Eliana, a girl whose spirit had long been dimmed by the shadows of her past. Abandoned and alone, Eliana had wandered through life unseen, surviving day by day on scant resources and the kindness of strangers. But within the charity's sanctuary, her potential unfurled like a fragile blossom in spring, eager for sunlight. With Daniel's unwavering support, Eliana discovered her talent for painting, a gift that had lain dormant behind her grief and fear. Each brushstroke became a way to express the emotions she had bottled up for years. Under the gentle guidance of dedicated volunteers, she transformed abstract feelings into vibrant colors, crafting landscapes and portraits that conveyed her truth. The joy on her face when she held her first exhibit was unparalleled, each painting a window into her soul that she had bravely opened to the world. It was a moment of triumph, not just for her, but for the entire community that rallied behind her. The widow watched from the back of the gallery, a sense of warmth swelling in her chest. Eliana's journey symbolized the power of compassion and how it could nurture confidence and creativity. The stories woven within the charity's fabric began to resonate throughout the community, illustrating that healing and growth were indeed interlinked. Inspired by Eliana's triumph, other children began to explore their own passions, be it through music, dance, or writing. Each art form served as a refuge, a place where they could not only learn but also teach others the lessons they had grasped through hardship. The ripple effect of kindness and support fostered an environment where dreams were kindled and aspirations took flight. It was transformative, a reminder of the strength found in unity and shared purpose. The widow cherished these moments of connection, recognizing that each child's achievements sparked newfound hope among their families. Parents, once consumed by despair, began to dream again as they witnessed their children rise from the depths of struggle. They too felt the tendrils of hope wrapping around their hearts, urging them towards a brighter future. Daniel often remarked on the splendid tapestry they were creating, each life a thread that contributed to the overall design. It was a legacy built not only on charity, but on the immeasurable value of kindness. Indeed, as the ears of one child rose above the din of a troubled past, it inspired another to look toward the horizon, eager to carve out a future filled with possibility. Unbeknownst to them, they were quietly reshaping their community, sowing seeds that would grow far beyond their individual journeys. As they forged ahead, it became clear that the legacy of kindness was not just something they spoke of during meetings. It was alive, vibrant, and pulsing through the very heartbeat of their lives. Standing behind the podium, Daniel took a moment to absorb the faces of the students before him. Their curiosity mingled with a hint of uncertainty, mirroring his own feelings when he had first walked through these doors so many years ago. The walls, once unfamiliar and imposing, now felt like guardians of countless memories etched into their plaster. He drew in a deep breath, recalling how far he'd come, how a single act of kindness had set him on a path of hope and transformation. He began to speak, his voice steady and warm, allowing himself to connect with the youthful audience. "I was once like you," he began, his gaze scanning the sea of expectant faces. "A young boy, unsure of my place in the world, navigating the turbulent waters of adolescence alone. But then there was one person who made a difference. A widow with a heart full of compassion, believed in me when I did not believe in myself." As he recounted the memories of that pivotal encounter with Mrs. Thompson, he could see her face in his mind's eye, the way her eyes sparkled with kindness, contrasting sharply against the backdrop of his own insecurities. He described the little things she did, how she wore her smile like a badge of honor, how she listened intently when others had turned away, highlighting the profound effect those seemingly small gestures can have on a person struggling to find their way. "You see," he continued, "it's not always the grand gestures that matter. Sometimes it's the simple act of showing up and caring that can alter the course of someone's life." As he spoke, he felt the room's energy shift. The students leaned in, absorbed by his story. Daniel spoke of the countless times he had returned to that old park bench where Mrs. Thompson would sit, her gentle encouragement echoing in his ears as he wrestled with self-doubt. He shared moments of triumph, the small victories that slowly built his courage, revealing how each step forward became a testament to her unwavering belief in him. He progressed to the lessons he had learned: perseverance in the face of adversity, the significance of community, and the profound impact of gratitude. His voice resonated deeply, a bridge connecting his past to the present, notes of sincerity threading through his narrative. As he neared the climax of his speech, the atmosphere grew electric with anticipation. "And today, I have the immense privilege of honoring that remarkable woman," he announced, his heart swelling with emotion. He turned slightly, gesturing toward her. A ripple of realization coursed through the audience as Mrs. Thompson rose, embraced by the spotlight, an embodiment of love wrapped in gentle humility. The applause that erupted was not just noise, it was an outpouring of gratitude, a collective acknowledgement of her enduring legacy. Through their applause, Daniel felt the warmth of appreciation coursing not just for Mrs. Thompson, but for every act of kindness shared amongst them. A reminder that these small lights in one another's lives can illuminate the darkest paths. It was a moment suspended in time, where love and compassion intertwined, creating a tapestry of hope that stretched far beyond what he could express in words.